When I proposed to Emma, I truly believed I had found my forever partner. She was everything I had ever wished for, intelligent, sharp, and undeniably beautiful. The joy on her face when she said yes made me feel like the luckiest man alive. It felt like a dream, as if the universe had aligned perfectly. But as they say, even the brightest stars cast shadows. 2 weeks before our wedding, I stumbled upon a side of Emma I never expected. It was a quiet Saturday afternoon, and Emma had invited her closest friends for a pre-wedding brunch. I wasn't supposed to be there. I had planned a golf outing with my buddies. However, a sudden downpour disrupted our plans. Thinking it might brighten her day, I decided to stop by her favorite bakery and surprise her with some pastries. When I arrived home, laughter spilled from the living room. Their voices carried through the slightly ajar front door. As I approached, I heard bits of their conversation, without meaning to. "So, are you feeling nervous about marrying Mark?" one of her friends asked. Emma let out a laugh, one that sounded more nervous than amused. "Not exactly," she said after a pause. Her tone shifted, and what she said next made my heart sink. "Mark's great, don't get me wrong. But honestly, I never thought I'd end up with him." There was a brief, awkward silence before another friend chimed in, trying to ease the tension. "What do you mean? You two seem perfect together." Emma's voice softened, almost a whisper, but her words hit me like thunder. "He wasn't my first choice. If things had worked out with Josh, well, I wouldn't even be here. Mark's dependable, you know. He's safe. He's the kind of guy you settle down with when you're done chasing the ones who won't commit." My stomach churned, and my grip on the pastry box tightened. My mind raced, unwilling to believe what I was hearing. "Still," she continued, unaware of my presence, "it's not some big, romantic love story. It's practical. He's a good man, someone who will take care of me." I couldn't listen anymore. My body moved on its own, and I stepped into the doorway. The room fell silent. Every pair of eyes turned to me, and Emma's face went pale. "Mark," she stammered, her voice shaky, "I thought you were golfing." "Clearly," I replied, my tone cold and measured. I came back just in time. The weight of the moment pressed down on everyone in the room. Emma's friends exchanged nervous glances before mumbling excuses and slipping out, leaving the two of us standing in a heavy, unbearable silence. When the door shut behind them, Emma turned to me, tears forming in her eyes. "Mark, you're misunderstanding," she pleaded, stepping closer. "Am I?" I shot back, my voice sharp but calm. "I heard you, Emma. You called me your backup plan, your safe option. Those were your words." She reached out, her touch hesitant. "I didn't mean it like that," she said desperately. "I was just venting. You know how stressful wedding planning has been. I wasn't thinking clearly." "Venting?" I pulled away, my voice rising. "No, Emma, that wasn't stress talking. That's what you really think of me, isn't it?" She shook her head vigorously, panic evident in her tearful eyes. "No, it's not true. I love you, Mark. I wouldn't have said yes if I didn't love you." "Love me?" I retorted, my voice breaking with hurt. "Listen to yourself. You don't love me. You're settling for me. I'm the guy you turn to when all your other options fall apart. How am I supposed to marry someone who sees me that way?" Tears streamed down her face as she tried to reason with me. "Please, Mark, don't do this. We've come so far. Everyone is expecting a wedding. Think about our families, our plans. You can't just throw it all away over one misunderstanding." "This isn't just a misunderstanding," I said firmly, my tone resolute despite the ache in my chest. "This is the truth, and I can't ignore it." I drew a deep breath, steadying myself for what I had to say next. "The wedding is off, Emma." Shock quickly morphed into fury. "You can't be serious," Emma snapped, her voice sharp with frustration. "Do you even understand how much has already been spent? The venue, the dress, the catering. Are you really going to just walk away from all of it?" I am, I replied, my tone resolute. Because I'd rather lose every penny than spend my life with someone who doesn't see me as their first choice. The room was filled with an unbearable silence, broken only by the sound of Emma's frustrated, tearful sobs. Though I knew I'd made the right call, the weight of the decision pressed heavily on my chest. The woman I had once pictured as my life partner didn't even view me as her true love. In that moment, one thing became abundantly clear. I deserved better. I deserved someone who saw me as their everything. After I called off the wedding, Emma didn't accept my decision gracefully. Over the following days, she launched an all-out campaign, using every manipulative trick in the book to try to change my mind. Her first move was to drown me in guilt. My phone was bombarded with emotional text messages, each crafted to tug at my heartstrings. I made one mistake, Mark. One read, "Does that really outweigh everything we built together? I love you. How can you just throw it all away because of one stupid comment?" When I didn't reply, she escalated. Late-night phone calls became a new weapon in her arsenal, filled with her sobbing uncontrollably on the other end. "I can't eat. I can't sleep," she cried. "You're tearing me apart, Mark. How could you be so cold?" Her words were clearly aimed at making me feel like the villain, but I refused to let them sway me. Deep down, I knew what I had to do. When guilt didn't work, Emma turned to others for reinforcement. She reached out to our mutual friends and even my family, trying to paint herself as a victim and me as heartless. "She's devastated," one friend told me during a phone call. "Can't you at least talk to her? Maybe give her another chance." Even my mom got involved, her voice filled with concern. "Mark, I know you're upset, but isn't calling off the wedding a bit extreme? Emma's a sweet girl. She's probably just overwhelmed with everything." I exhaled deeply and calmly explained the situation, recounting Emma's exact words. I didn't hold anything back. Most people understood my perspective after hearing the truth, though a few still tried to pressure me into reconsidering. But I stood firm. No amount of external influence could make me marry someone who saw me as a consolation prize. When emotional appeals failed, Emma shifted to a different tactic, money. She demanded I cover all the non-refundable wedding expenses, arguing that since I'd been the one to cancel, it was my responsibility. "You owe me for the venue, the catering, and my dress," she said coldly. "You can't just walk away without paying for your part." But I stood my ground. "Emma," I replied evenly, "this wedding was called off because of what you said, not me. I'm not paying for choices you made." Her anger boiled over, and she threatened legal action. In response, I consulted an attorney, who reassured me that her claims wouldn't hold up in court. I relayed this to Emma, making it clear I was prepared to defend myself if necessary. That was enough to end her financial demands. Her final act of desperation came about a week later. I was at a gathering with friends when she stormed in uninvited, her face red with fury. "You're a coward, Mark," she yelled, her voice trembling with rage. "You're running away because you can't handle a real relationship. You're pathetic." The room went dead silent. My friends sat frozen, their gazes darting between Emma and me. Slowly, I stood, keeping my composure. "Emma," I said calmly, "this isn't the time or place. Please leave." When she refused, I had no choice but to call security to escort her out. That moment was the final nail in the coffin. Afterward, I blocked her number, her social media accounts, and made it clear that if she tried to contact me again, I would file for a restraining order. Calling off the wedding was one of the most difficult choices I've ever had to make, but I knew, without a doubt, it was the right one. Emma's entitled and manipulative behavior only reinforced that decision. She wasn't the person I thought she was. In the weeks that followed, I rode an emotional roller coaster, anger, heartbreak, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. But with time, those feelings began to fade, replaced by clarity and inner strength. I learned valuable lessons about love, self-worth, and what I truly deserve in a relationship. Love isn't about settling or being someone's second option. It's about mutual respect, trust, and being chosen wholeheartedly. I realized I deserved to be with someone who loved me for who I am, not as a fallback plan, but as their one and only. As for Emma, I heard through mutual friends that she moved on quickly and began dating someone new just a few months later. I hold no bitterness toward her. Instead, I'm grateful for what I gained from the experience, my self-respect, and a stronger sense of what I will never compromise on again.